Hi, Mr. Wagner. My name is Emma Kruus, and I'm going to be showing you my prototype eco house in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Fredericksburg, Virginia is a lovely area with a rich historic past. For instance, our very first president, George Washington, grew up in Fredericksburg, and the Battle of Fredericksburg took place downtown during the Civil War. The downtown area is beautiful, with plenty of shops and restaurants to choose from after you finish taking a historical carriage tour and visited Mary Washington, George Washington's mother's house. Now, I'm going to play you a short video that I made of downtown Fredericksburg to show you a little bit of what it is like. Here is the Rappahannock River, which runs straight through downtown. And here is the main street, Caroline Street, which has most of the shops and houses. I apologize for the shaky video. Some of the software that I'm running right now is making it a little slow. And this is an overview of the whole city, or the downtown area at least. Oops. Now, the spot that I chose to build this prototype house is located in the middle of downtown. There is a park right across, right around down here. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse on the screen, but where it says Kenmore on the bottom picture, that is the park. And the street, Caroline Street, with the best food and shops is just about a 10 to 15 minute walk from where the house would be built. Finally, there's plenty of space to build the prototype house. As you can see, and this land is currently not being used for anything, despite the fact that most of Fredericksburg is fairly historic, or most of downtown Fredericksburg at least. So some of the area is preserved, but this area is not, so this would be a perfect building location. I also conducted air quality research for 3 seasons throughout the year, starting with fall. As you can see, the air quality was very good and it posed no health risks during the fall season. I also researched the air quality during the winter time. However, winter technically starts December 21st. The data that I have closest to that date is December 7th. Nonetheless, the air quality was also good close to the winter months. Finally, and most recently, I collected data for spring. The air quality on this day was yellow, or moderate. This means that the air quality is still good for most common individuals, but it may be slightly irritating for some sensitive individuals. But overall, most of the year, the air quality is fairly normal and it's good and it poses no health risks, which is very important. Next, I did research to see what type of energy would support my area. I found that wind energy would not be reliable because there is not a consistent amount of high-speed winds. I discovered that my areas mostly rely on Dominion energy, which primarily uses non-renewable forms of energy. On the other hand, I discovered that my area would be able to use solar energy because there is a more consistent supply of sun, and it's not like Seattle, for instance, which is rainy many days out of the year, but Fredericksburg is pretty sunny. And then this is the data that I collected to see if wind was a good option for my area. The light green color is data from 6 in the morning, the middle color is around 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and the darker color is around 6 or 7 p.m., like the darker blue color. And as you can see, most of the time the wind was very mild, and it reached its high point at about 12 kilometers per hour, and that was on a day when there was a storm. On the rest of the days, the wind was pretty mild, or on some days there was virtually no wind at all. So I chose to go with making solar panels from scratch for my prototype house. This interested me because my family has actually found a solar panel at a junkyard before, and we installed it in our apartment to have a renewable energy source. For solar panels, there are metals, woods, and plastics, which are all needed, and all of which need to be collected naturally and then manufactured into wire, screws, drills, and etc. And this all needs to be done in factories, which obviously uses a lot of energy. There are also solar cells made from crystalline silicon that needs to be made. Finally, all of these materials need to be transported from where they are collected to factories, and then to the store, and then to my house. And this also uses a lot of energy. But in the long run, making solar panels would be less damaging and would leave a smaller ecological footprint than would using non-renewable energy sources. Finally, I attended a city planning meeting. The focus was mainly on preserving the historic district of Fredericksburg, specifically reviewing the process in which people get approval to build downtown, since almost all of downtown is the historic district. And this is because the Battle of Fredericksburg took place right on the main streets of downtown. Nonetheless, this means that building downtown may take a little bit of time because the project would need to get approved. However, the location that was chosen is perfect because there is so much space, which would give a lot of room for composting and gardens and rain barrels, which all help the environment. And the planning committee briefly discussed environmental concerns with the budget, which was being planned in a future meeting, and with a storm water plant. And this would be used to collect rainwater from the storms. Since most city areas are all paved, this would help collect some of that runoff that would end up collecting pollution that would later end up in the Rappahannock River. And here's a picture of the notes that I took from the city planning meeting when they were discussing environmental concerns. Now, let's take a look at my prototype house. I chose to use Minecraft because I thought that I could get a more accurate view of what I wanted to create. I tried to mimic the old-timey feel that many of the houses downtown have. And so, when you come inside and go upstairs, I created an outdoor area with mosses and grasses to again help collect the rainwater. Since all of the buildings downtown are paved, this just helps collect some of what would become runoff. And then if we go back downstairs, none of this area is furnished yet because this is just a prototype house and we're focusing mainly on the environmental aspects. But of course, this house would be fully furnished. But over here on the left, we have some rain barrels. And in real life, these would be larger, but because of the format that I decided to create my prototype house, I went with many smaller ones, and on the inside, there's actually little water buckets. But then, if we fly up to the roof, I have installed solar panels, and these are very discreet. You would have no idea that there were solar panels on the roof just by looking at it. And so this, again, would help it get approved because the downtown area is very specific about maintaining that historic district, as I mentioned. So kind of keeping this old kind of traditional looking style of house and making the solar panels a little bit more discreet, this will definitely help get the project passed through the planning committee. The house would mainly be run by solar energy and maybe Dominion energy when needed, but most of the time, unless in emergencies, solar energy would be needed because, as I mentioned, my area is fairly sunny. Solar energy, however, can be expensive, starting at around $15,000 for installation, But because I decided to make my solar panels from scratch, it would be a little bit less expensive because the company who's installing it wouldn't need to spend money creating it. So it would probably be a lot less for the job that this house would need. And in the long run, this would create lower electric bills, and so it would make it a good long-term investment to use solar energy. Materials that were collected were from a local lumber yard, and the doors were handcrafted by a shop downtown. Waste will be disposed of by composting to reduce the ecological footprint, and all other waste will unfortunately go to the landfill because not all waste can be recycled, but any waste that can be will be recycled, any waste that can be composted will be composted, and then unfortunately there are always some wastes that will need to go to a landfill. And finally, the water source comes from the public water system, which takes its water from the Rappahannock River and other surrounding rivers in the area. Mott's Run Reservoir is another one. And there are a few laws in place about what water can be used. They're very specific about the filtering methods. And as I mentioned before, they're trying to create a stormwater plant because one of the issues that we have is there's a lot of runoff, which is putting unnecessary pollution into the rivers and then requiring more treatment at treatment plants. And so the city planning committee is trying to work with the different treatment plants to try and come up with a solution to try and make the water cleaner and healthier for all of the inhabitants. So, I have a few works cited. I have a few surprising facts about Fredericksburg, such as that George Washington grew up here. Also, if you're a fan of Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A sauce, which is probably one of the most well-known parts of Chick-fil-A, is that they have this signature sauce. It was actually created at the Chick-fil-A in Fredericksburg, which is just a little fun fact. And also that the Battle of Fredericksburg occurred here. There are so many historical parts of Fredericksburg that are just beautiful, and just taking a walk through downtown is probably one of the most rewarding things. And it's a beautiful downtown area, and the house is right in the center of the city. At night there's life, there's places to go out on the town, and then in the afternoon there's quaint little coffee shops to just spend your afternoon. And so this is a really beautiful area and a perfect place to build an eco house in a city that is a little bit more focused on the historical aspects as of right now, but by building this prototype house, we'll hopefully start to turn towards some more environmentally friendly aspects of the house, and to try and preserve not only the historic district, but also the environment. So, Mr. Wagner, that is all I have for you for my prototype house. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.